is Brannon Howse Live. Whether the issue is law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, government, or national security, Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
Evening and welcome to the broadcast on this June 17th, 2025, as literally America and the world await the announcement of President Donald Trump. And there's deafening silence. We here in the studio, we're just waiting for more news to come in. And it was kind of quiet. It is kind of quiet the last few minutes, to be honest, as we've been tracking to see what's going to happen. As we're all waiting for President Trump, and then word came through that the president has communicated with us, folks. But it wasn't about the war. It was about his big, beautiful flags and flagpole at the White House. Do we have the screenshot of that? That was just put out by the president. It's almost like he's trolling us tonight, folks. I think he's trolling us. Logan thinks he is too. Is he trolling us, Logan? He says, it's my great honor. What does he say? There's my great honor to announce that I will be putting up two beautiful flagpoles on both sides of the White House, north and south lawns. It is a gift from me of something which was always missing from the magnificent place. The digging and placement of the poles will begin at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning. Flags will be raised at approximately 11 a.m. Eastern Standard. These are the most magnificent poles made. They are tall. They are, what does that say? Tapered, rust-proof, rope inside the pole, out of the highest quality. Hopefully they will proudly stand at both sides of the White House for many years to come. Well, there you go. Well, I think that's a good idea. I love the idea of the flags, to be honest with you. I think something has been missing. I didn't know what. I've been going there since I was 4 years old. I asked my mother the other day, can you find the pictures of me standing in front of the White House with my twin sister when I was about 4 years old? So she's looking. But yeah, I've known since I was 4 something was missing. It took Donald Trump in 2025 to fix the problem. It's missing two beautiful flagpoles. All right, well, there you go. All right, we're going to be joined by Annie Cyrus, born and raised in Iran, and David Pine, as we talk about what the world is literally waiting on, and that is the announcement by President Trump. What is he going to do? Well, let's be honest, folks. Tension is rising, as well as emotions, temper, angst, concern by a lot of people in the MAGA world. A lot of people are already, making their, judgment as to what he'll do. We don't really know what he's going to do, right? Some are saying, look, he's just going to go in there with these bombers, take care of this nuclear facility, and get out. We're going to drop and go. I don't know. But Iran, they're saying, if you do, we're going to hit your military bases in the region. Maybe they'll activate terror cells somewhere in America or somewhere else where we have assets and interests. I don't know. I do know this. We all need to be praying tonight for President Trump. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's a historic decision he's going to make. Which direction will it go? But here's one thing I will point out. I thought about this a lot. I even wrote an article, a column, and I'm holding the column. I'm going to sleep on the column. It's really just a column stating where I am, where I stand, what my concerns are. I've already voiced them here. My concerns are that it's day 5 and I'd like to hear from the president. I'd like to hear what his position is. Where is he going? I don't want to be hearing about it from text communications from Bill O'Reilly. We want to hear from President Trump. That's who we voted for. We also want to try to figure out how we, the American people, should be responding and preparing. China's preparing for war, and they're preparing their people for war. Russia's preparing for war. They have bunkers for their people. A lot of countries, they're ready for war. But where is the preparation talk for America and Americans and what this could look like? Preparing Americans both mentally, spiritually, physically. But there's one thing I've also noticed is that as we share, whether it's Annie or myself or David Pine or Leo or any of the other distinguished guests we have on here, they're entitled to their opinion. That's what talk radio that I do on 74 stations every day and talk television here at night is about, sharing our views and opinions. Now, we try to make it rooted in facts and documentation. We all pretty well have the same facts, right? That we know. 90% of what we need to know is open source. About 10% is classified, but about 90% of what you need to know is open source. Friends of mine, some of them who've had as many as 600 intel agents answering to them have told me that. 90% of what you need to know is in the public. And you can pretty well figure out a lot of stuff about that 10% from what's in that 90%. And anyone looking at just the 90% is missing, the 10%, I should say, is missing 90%. Which is why a lot of the guys in the intel arena don't always get it right. And guys in the talk world, talk radio, talk TV world, Americans watching, sitting in their armchairs, they get it right. Because they look at 90% of the data and they say, if this trend continues, this is where we're going to go. And they're looking at a broad spectrum of data that's available to them if they so choose to access it. In the intelligence world, you know what they do? Not everybody's looking at that 10%. You have one group looking at 1% over here, another group looking at 2% over here, another group looking at 0.5% over here, until you get your 10%. And I've had guys that I say, I've had as many as 600 agents answering to them that have told me, I've actually put out to my staff, you need to listen to this guy's show and who he interviewed because you guys are looking at a small segment of the information. He's looking at the vast majority of it that's open source. You're all concentrating on the stuff that's classified. What's the point I'm making? We may not have security clearances and security briefings, but we can figure out a lot of what's going on. And a lot of what we look at is the same data. The question is, how do you interpret that data? What do you think that means for you, your family, our country, your community? Don't forget, we got the commanding general at Edwards Air Force Base on May 7th of this year, bringing in community leaders and saying, we're vulnerable. And if China goes after Taiwan, one of the things they're likely to do is take down our power grid, cell towers. And we need you, community leaders, to get ready, to be prepared, and to prepare the citizens. Well, I'd like to see that kind of talk go on nationwide. But see, we can collect a lot of data, you and I, and then we can respond to it. And maybe the response is, Iran, they're blowhards. They've threatened. They've even threatened tonight to unleash something that will be talked about for centuries. Here we are, 7:37 Central, 8:37 Eastern Standard. Haven't seen anything yet. I hope we don't. So some could say, you know what, they're blowhards. Others say, not so much, not so much. Be careful. There's things that maybe we don't know about, like, hey, do we have satellites circling over America that have an EMP on them? Be it Iran or North Korea. You might want to look up the work of David Pine on that, or my friend, the late Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. Remember, he worked closely with Congressman Kurt Weldon. Some of these guys were trying to say these things are going to happen before 9/11, but folks that listen to them, see, there you go again. Those guys actually had some classified information, plus based on the open data, and they made assumptions based on that data. And some people didn't want to listen to them, and 9/11 happened. So what I'm here to say tonight is a lot of us, you, if you're tuning into this program, are probably one of those people, have seen a lot of data over the years. You've heard a lot of talk about Iran having the bomb or close to having the bomb. For Pete's sake, Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying it since about 1995. Iran's about to get the bomb, about to get the bomb, about to get the bomb. We have the video clips of him saying this all the way back to 1995. Well, if you cry wolf all the time, people are prone to not pay attention when you really need them to. Then there are guys like Dr. Peter Vincent Pry who said, I'm pretty sure they have it. That was a few years ago. So if they have it, why are we going to strike them to keep them from getting it if they already have it? If that's just prone to getting us into more wars in the Middle East, and adding in who knows what Russia, North Korea, and China will do. I'm going to have on Xi Van Fleet here tonight. She was born and raised in China. I like to hear what she has to say, wouldn't you? Annie Cyrus, born and raised in Iran. Getting a lot of response from her analysis, and of course, that of David Pine. But here's what I'm noticing. Apparently, good people can't disagree. Apparently, good people can't look at the data and have an assumption, a theory, a concern without attacking other people. You know, I also am noticing something, and that is that a lot of these people that want to go to war in the Middle East, a lot of them are never Trumpers. They were never Trumpers. When Trump decided to run, they didn't have anything nice to say about him at all. Now they want to be his best friend and go to the White House and the Oval Office and tell him what he should do and what he should be worried about. Why is it that so many so-called formerly never Trumpers are wanting to lead President Trump into a war in the Middle East? Is he being led into a trap to destroy his movement, the MAGA movement? But see, here's part of my concern. I'm seeing people in the MAGA movement state their concerns, whether we should go in, we should not go in. And what I see is other people in the MAGA movement attacking them back and forth. Now, we can disagree, but at some point we ought to be able to disagree and say, but wait a minute, how much do we really agree with this person aside from this? What was it, Ronald Reagan who said, someone that agrees with you 80% of the time is not a 20% enemy. Well, when you're in talk radio, talk TV, write articles, whatever, you're going to get feedback. And I've been hearing from some folks that are expressing their concerns. They're getting nasty emails. Why? We agree probably more than 80% on the big issues. We probably agree 90%, 95% on the big issues. For those that are trying to set a trap for President Trump, I don't have a lot of tolerance for them. To the European leaders that want to get us into a war with Ukraine and Russia and drag us into that, I don't have tolerance for that. But there are some good-hearted people in the MAGA movement that have, well, their convictions about what they're seeing right now, and they're sharing them. And isn't that really what we should be doing? Debating these very important issues that impact all of us and potentially our children, our grandchildren, and debating them in the arena of ideas without writing each other off forever. Because guess what? We're going to need each other if we're going to continue to beat the deep state. That's if the deep state and the never Trumpers don't derail the MAGA movement and stop us from having success on all the great domestic policies we need. Like the one I heard today on the issue of illegal immigration. Great numbers, great stats. They don't want these things to continue. They don't want to see Donald Trump create an alternative to the Federal Reserve System. There's so many things that he has set out to do, they don't want him to do. And he's not even been in office for his second term, 6 months. And it looks like some of the never Trumpers, the uniparty people, the neocons, the war hawks, whatever you want to call them, are trying to lead him right down something that will divide and maybe destroy his movement to get what he needs done. So let's debate. Let's have our concerns, our theories, but let's not let them have us turn on each other when we agree 80 to 90 to 95% of the time. I disagree, and you can do it with great passion and even emotion. But don't fall for the trap, which is to stop the historic opportunity to actually make America great again. Joining me now is Annie Cyrus and David Pine. Guys, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brannon, for having us back.
Just a quick comment by each of you on my opening monologue tonight. Have you guys noticed that a lot of the people pushing President Trump into going to war in the Middle East were people that didn't have anything nice to say about him and were never Trumpers? Have you noticed that? And it has me wondering, are they trying to set up President Trump in his second term, particularly with all the great initiatives he has laid out that would just neuter the deep state, like the Federal Reserve and so much more?
Well, I think the neocons love war, and so if Trump decides to be a neocon warmonger, they'll welcome him with open arms. They won't be never Trumpers anymore. But the reason they were so opposed to Trump is because he promised to end the wars. He promised to end the forever wars, to pull our troops out of the Middle East, to end the war in Ukraine with Russia, and to bring about a new era of peace through strength and international stability. Such as we haven't seen since the Reagan era, or shortly after the collapse of the Soviet Union. I think they're friends of convenience. I think that Trump will find that if he were to switch back the America First position, they would stab him in the back. They can't be trusted, and unfortunately he's got some very prominent neocons in his own administration, including Rubio, Kellogg, Ratcliffe, Waltz, and others.
We come back, I want to get Annie's response and then go to this. What was this gigantic mushroom cloud popping up there in Tehran tonight? We'll get to that. Lots of clips tonight and analysis. And then Javon Fleet, born and raised in China, will give us her thoughts on what China's up to. And Nick Helsher and more. Don't go away.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, I know you and Brannon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate undersink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity. All from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
All right, welcome back. Glad you are with us. By the way, I just noticed they were playing that promo on the water filter. That's 2 weeks ago yesterday. 2 weeks ago yesterday, my wife picked these hydrangeas and put them in this vase or vase. I don't know, it looks like a milk jug, glass milk jug, but anyway. 2 weeks ago yesterday, look how beautiful they are. That's because it's in the water, this filter. There's no chemicals in there. There's no poisons in there. It does it for these flowers. What's it do for you? Or for beautiful Dolly, who drinks that wonderful filtered water. Worldviewwater.net to get yours. I shower with it, which is how I got this thick hair back, along with the Bella Greats, of course. Worldviewwater.net. It's a combination of things, I'll tell you that. Annie Cyrus, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Annie, my opening monologue. We don't know what President Trump's going to do yet. We don't know. We don't know if it's just going to be fly in with a couple bombers, take out that nuclear facility and exit stage left. I don't know. But I do believe that the people have got to stop turning on each other in a way that we can't repair those bridges and work together. And I see some people coming down on whether it's you, me, David, Leo, others, because we have views and opinions, and they just get so personal and upset. I'm not listening anymore. You're anti-American, I'm like, come on. We can express our views and opinions, and if we agree 90%, 95% of the time, that's pretty good. What say you, Annie?
It's actually interesting you say that. The recent messages I'm receiving are so filled with love. I'm being told to go back. Why don't you go fight for Iran? I'm like, are you not reading my content, or is this the accent getting in the way? When did I ask us to get involved with the war fighting for Iran? I didn't even ask for us to get involved. I've been opposed. I'm like, we should stay out of, like, don't send our troops there. However, on some new developments, I cannot confirm. It has been confirmed by 2 reliable sources, but not enough reliable for me to say for sure. But I will put a scenario on the table here. There might be no choice for President Trump to actually does get involved with this war, because the big promise we've been hearing about looks like there's satellite footages confirming that IRGC has started putting mines around Hormuz.
Oh boy.
Thank you. So there might, as much as I think this is their desperate attempt of bluffing and trying to rattle some channels, but if that is what I've been seeing, and if they do blow up our bases or our ships, then I think President Trump will go in as retaliation, because he's been pretty firm on, if you attack us, if you attack our bases, our soldiers, we'll come back in. So let's keep that in mind as a new possibility. Now, that being said,
let me just stop right there, put a pin in the rest of that.
Sure.
For those who don't know, the Straits of Hormuz, that's got shipping coming through there with oil and energy. And David, that could cause fuel prices to go really high at a time, again, where Trump's economy is starting to take off and get better, and inflation is down. I mean, he hasn't even been in office 6 months. Again, this kind of thing can help disrupt his success, not to mention what it'll do to other people in other parts of the world, right?
That's right. Yeah, a U.S. war with Iran could cause potentially a global recession, certainly a recession here at home with sky-high fuel prices, perhaps causing them to double. There's all kinds of different things that could happen. As I mentioned on one of your last programs, Russia warned of uncontrolled global escalation if Israel bombed Iranian nuclear sites. And then after the war started, they warned of regional nuclear escalation between Iran and Israel. And just tonight, we heard IRGC TV reportedly stated that they're going to have some kind of spectacular demonstration that will be remembered for centuries. And I'm just speculating, but it sounds like they referred to an above-ground nuclear test. I'd love to hear what.
There are rumors. There are rumors that some kind of 4.2 earthquake has been felt. Again, I can't confirm that, but I am getting
5.2.
5.2.
5.2. Yes.
What do you think that means, Annie?
I strongly believe that was not an earthquake, especially because the area on the map, when you look at it, it's not earthquake-prone area in Iran. It's kind of the same as the story of Bam. I don't know if your audience remember, in 2007, there was an earthquake that literally flattened the city of Bam in Iran. And it was supposed to be an earthquake until 5 or 6 years later, IRGC said, no, it was us doing a test and proving to you we have back then 72 million hostages in this country. So I think this one, the 5.2 one that was just reported, could have very well be a test.
And of course, we also have a video out today of Iran. Were you about to mention this?
Yes.
Here they are caressing a missile with a nuclear symbol on it. So again, more of a threat here.
And also remember, starting this morning, well, I should say late night, last night, our time, morning of Iran, Supreme Leader isn't in charge of the country. It's not Islamic Republic no longer. It is IRGC Supreme Council, which, as I mentioned earlier on your radio, that means they don't have to follow the Sharia fatwa of the Supreme Leader, which means if they want to use nuke, they can, because he's not there to stop them anymore.
All right. I know I interrupted you. Was there anything else you needed to say?
No, I was just going to say I agree. I understand emotions are, trust me, I understand emotions are a little crazy. Trust me. But if I can't handle mine, everybody else can too.
And the reason you're saying that is because you grew up in Iran. You were thrown into Sharia jail for not wearing your hijab or letting your hair come up underneath your hijab and skipping and singing. And then you were sold by your own dad, a much, much, much older man. So again, you have a whole history back there. And what you're saying is if you can go through all this and deal with this and handle all this, then we can all control our emotions as well.
Exactly. It's such a hard spot to be in. Like before it has happened, Brandon, when I came on your show back to back to back reporting on uprising in Iran, and it was just my heart bleeding for my people who were being killed by the hands of regime. But today, my American side is worried we're going to get involved with this war. My Iranian side is happy, but at the same time worried. My Christian side stands by Israel. So if I can handle all of that, stay level-headed somewhat, report facts, every American should just take a deep breath and realize, regardless of outcome of tomorrow or tonight or a week from today, we are still a nation that needs to survive.
Yeah.
We can't keep allowing every single policy of every single politician breaking us apart and farther from each other. One day we might need to face the enemy for real. And if we're this divided, we're just going to kill each other before the enemy gets here.
Which I think is part of the goal, is to have us divided and in some kind of civil chaos before that. Speaking of politicians, now, I'm pretty strong on my statement that obviously I'm for the Jewish people. I'm for the Jewish state. I mean, I was doing seminars in 2017 and 18 called Holocaust Horizon, warning about the rise of anti-Semitism. I've been teaching Bible prophecy and things like that for a long time, and what God's plan is for the Jewish people. I've been reminding everybody about the Holocaust and the history and the ideas and the philosophies that created that. I stand with the Jewish people. But as I always say, that doesn't mean I stand with the Israeli government all the time. For Pete's sake, I don't agree with my own government a lot of the time. So I'm for the right of the Jewish people for their land and to defend themselves, right? But partly what I'm a little frustrated with is when I look at guys like Benjamin Netanyahu, who turned his own people over to Pfizer, I think it was, the pharmaceutical companies during the COVID thing, is basically lab rats. When I remember seeing that video, I thought, that's got to be AI, that's got to be fake. And then we found out, no, he really said these things. Like, what?
Uh-huh.
I remember my Jewish friend, Dr. Zelenko, coming on here as a Hasidic Jew saying apparently Israel wants to finish what the Nazis started with this whole experiment thing. And I'm like, wow, that's a strong statement coming from a Hasidic Jew, right? But he was speaking truth. He was like, what are they doing, right? So I've had real issues with Benjamin for a while. But today, someone put together this compilation. Benjamin Netanyahu hasn't done any of us a favor. And I went all the way back to 2012, where he held up the bomb, picture of the bomb at the UN with the red line, 2012. But it goes back much further than that. This guy has been crying wolf for a long time. Is he just being a politician? What's he doing here? Watch this little montage.
Not stopped. Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
David, this is what I'm talking about. So this guy's either been lying to us. I mean, I have to assume he's lying. I mean, I would just have to assume. That's my opinion. I mean, since 1995, he's saying that. When you and I believe from Peter Pry that they already have the bomb. So we're going to go to war to stop them from getting a bomb when they already have a bomb. And we're getting our information from him? I mean, am I wrong to be skeptical? Even though I'm a big supporter of the Jewish people, I question their leader.
No, you're not wrong at all. I mean, Netanyahu, was right to warn of an Iranian bomb back in 95 and later. He initially said Iran might have a bomb by 2000. 2003 is when Peter Pry warned that Iran was 3 months away from, based on where we were in terms of the testing, the centrifuges, the enrichment. He assessed that as a senior CIA official or former official, he assessed that Iran was just 3 months away from developing a nuke, and that was 22 years ago. And not coincidentally, that's when U.S. intelligence is claiming that Iran stopped its nuclear program. So if indeed they stop their nuclear program, it's very possible because they probably already developed one in 2003. And why would they need to keep developing it if they had already achieved a nuclear weapon status? Potentially. We don't really know for sure. But, U.S. intelligence has been, it's been proven wrong virtually in every instance since Pearl Harbor. They failed to predict pretty much everything other than the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So we really can't trust U.S. intelligence assessments. That said, Iran likely has had a nuclear bomb for a decade or thereabouts. Could be less, could be a few years, or it could be a couple decades. Either way, they haven't used it. They've likely had a nuclear weapon, a nuclear arsenal of maybe a dozen or 3 dozen nuclear weapons, much smaller than infinitely smaller than the U.S., many times smaller than Israel, and yet they've been incredibly deterred from using their nuclear weapons in an act of nuclear aggression by, far superior nuclear arsenals of the United States and Israel. So if that's the case, they don't really pose much of a nuclear threat to us. If they don't have nuclear weapons, if indeed U.S. intelligence is correct and they don't have a nuclear program, they don't pose a threat to us because they're not on their way to nuclear weapons. And that's what Tulsi Gabbard testified to. And she was entrusted to be Donald Trump's director of national intelligence.
Mm. The ambassador to Washington, to the United States from Israel, had this to say about, I guess, something big that's coming Thursday or Friday night that will make the old pager attacks seem like simple. That's what he said. Listen.
We've pulled off a number of surprises. When the dust settles, you're going to see some surprises on Thursday night and Friday that will make the beeper operation almost seem simple. We've pulled off.
Wow. Annie, what do you think that's going to be about?
That has me very curious. Honestly, I can't at the moment think of anything after the last 5 days. By the time we get to Thursday, being it a week, I really can't think of what it could be unless they have a way of, taking out what's left of IRGC personnel of IRGC, considering they are in charge right now. But to be honest, I am drawing a blank as to guessing what could be. But I will agree they have. And if I could add something to what you said, Brannon, and I'm on most of the time, me and you were on the same page. But I would say if the way this video was made, I think it would have been a better editorial format if they did it from 98 to today rather than today to 98, because it seems like he's repeating himself. But then, yes, if he's repeating himself from 98 to today, then he's not necessarily manipulating information. He's doing the best to guess. And that being said, now, please know, as you know, Brannon, I disagree with Netanyahu 95% of the time, including what he did during COVID. But when we bring this up, we also should bring up that our own leader, President Trump, has in last 5 days not said anything, and whatever came out on his behalf has been one way or another, one way or another, one way or another, one way or another. So I guess it's just the way leaders work nowadays. They just keep changing what they were saying. Yeah. I figured I should be fair saying, if you're pointing out Netanyahu, now I know the claim, or as Leo said last night, this war was promoted as the goal is to take out the nuke, but let's also give Israeli government, Netanyahu, IDF, the people, give them the grace that they have tolerated bombing and jihadists and blood and absolutely life with no predictability, including planning a simple wedding could be canceled because they have to go into their, bomb shelters for 46 years. So even if there is no nuclear bomb, which I think it is, and even if IDF doesn't get the nuclear facilities, I'm okay with it. Did they put a wrong banner on the reasoning behind their war? Maybe. But at least they're doing the entire world a favor by doing what they're doing.
And my issue, too, as you know, Annie, is our schizophrenia, it's kind of schizophrenia here with the foreign policy versus domestic policy. Iran's an existential threat to Israel. They need to respond. Let them respond. But yet, we now may go get help to them, give help to them. But we have the same existential threat here, as I've said, with some of these mosques and imams talking about overthrowing us and death to America. And they're right here. And our own government's funding some of them, for Pete's sake, through NGOs and other things. So we've got to get on the same page with the threats facing us here, and then, deal with the threats overseas if necessary. But I don't want to see us with boots on the ground or involved, as I've said again. Sell them equipment, give them some intelligence. But we got a lot to take care of here at home. Come back, we'll wrap it up and get to Givon Fleet. Don't go away.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface, stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
Folks, this is a legitimate product. I take it every day. Melissa takes it every day. We've been taking it since late 2023. 80 clinical trials behind it. Powerful elixir, real science. I hope you'll check it out. Great way, I think, to support your health and this program at the same time. melissahousebg.com. Excuse me, melissahousebg.com. All right, before we're going to wrap here and get ready to go to Givon Fleet, who was born and raised in China, to see what she thinks China is going to do when it comes to all of this with Iran. And then we'll check in with Nick Helsher as well. And then Chris Martenson on economics and where all this is going on a global scale. Before we wrap here, guys, let me ask you, Annie, is this video, do you know about this video here? And is the translation what I'm being told it is? Listen. What are they saying, Annie?
The first chant is they're mocking Khamenei in bunker, hiding. And then after that, they're matching the rhythm of the car honks with death to dictator. So I was laughing. The first part was very funny.
So many people in Iran are ready to be free.
Yes, and that's the thing. Again, not to constantly defend Bibi Netanyahu, but this morning he did an interview on Channel 14 of Israel, and he said, "I can guarantee you 80% of Iranians are ready to be done with this regime." And you've heard me give that number on your show before, 75 to 80%. He's really informed as to what people want. And on that I respect. And yes, 80% of people are done. They're ready. And it's not just they're done. Since your radio until now, I released another Substack. A Nation Calls, A Sun Answers. The Return of the Sun, referring to Crown Prince Pahlavi, that when he released his video today of literally openly telling people there's a plan, you just go ahead and do the uprising, we got the rest of it covered. They're not just done with the regime. They're done with the regime, and they are ready for the. They already voted for the next government. This is as stable as it's gonna get for either a color revolution, for a coup d'etat, or an uprising by people taking advantage of the move made by Israel. And that's why I keep saying, even if we do end up, and again, I want to be very respectful. I have said it. I have never served in any department. I don't have any technical experience when it comes to war and policies and politics. However, Brannon, in last 5 days, I have not been wrong in a single what's next. And on that, I can guarantee you, even if we do get involved, which I hope we don't, this is not a war you've seen with Afghanistan, Syria, or Iraq. I guarantee you it's not going to end up there. Maybe it takes itself elsewhere, but I guarantee you we're not going to be in Iran for 20 years and our soldiers are not going to be killed by hands of Iranians. I can guarantee you that.
David, in conclusion, if President Trump says, look, guys, I'm going to send in a couple bombers. We're going to take out this nuclear facility. I said they couldn't have a nuclear weapon. I meant it. We're going to go in. We're going to take that out. And that's it. We're not going to get involved beyond that. Does life go on? Or does that take it to a next level? Does Russia and North Korea and China decide, yeah, this is not worth it, and stay on the sidelines, and life goes on, and we're all like, that worked out pretty well, and this is all mute, or not?
Well, if the U.S. bombs Iran, it does pose an existential threat, escalation, uncontrolled escalation, as Russia has warned, to the U.S. However, a more limited strike against just one target, maybe we pre-announce it. This is like one and done. Maybe we could get away with that. I don't think that's what Trump's envisioning. I think, what he's talking about is a massive bombing campaign of 1 to 3 weeks. In that instance, the risks are much, much higher. I don't see that Iran would go to nuclear escalation off the bat. In fact, I don't think that they'd likely go to nuclear escalation at all. I do think that there's probably the biggest risk to the U.S. would be a massive cyber attack on the U.S. homeland that could really shut down our country almost as effectively as a super EMP attack. Not quite, but could have the same devastating consequences. Mass starvation, loss of power for months, if not permanently. We don't really know. We know that Iran has substantial cyber offensive capabilities, not on par with the U.S., Russia, or China, or North Korea, but probably pretty close.
Well, speaking of North Korea, we just see the Secretary of Russia's Security Council arriving in North Korea at the orders of Putin. That was an unannounced trip, I'm told.
Yeah, all the countries are consulting. Trump had meetings that I heard with Russia and China earlier today in terms of quick meetings to discuss perhaps what he's considering and try to gauge with their reactions and see how vehement they are against it. Hopefully that put a little bit of fear of God in him, and they were really forceful in saying that this could lead to World War III, because he just doesn't seem to have a good grasp of reality at this point. I've praised Trump pretty much his entire presidency, but this is a turning point for me. If he follows through with this and takes us to World War III, he's going to have a really poor presidential legacy minimally. And as we discussed earlier on the phone, we could see a massive rejection of the Republican Party that could be transformational, where the Democrats are a permanent majority because he decided he wanted to be a war president and go to war for Israel against U.S. national security interests.
Wow.
Brannon, can I quickly ask a question?
Yes.
What would happen, because I know we're concentrating on Israel trying to drag U.S. into the war, but what are the possibilities that Iran might attack one of our bases or go after our troops to drag U.S. into the war because he's getting signals from Russia and China to drag U.S. into the war? What would be the scenario then?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Okay. So I don't think Russia or China, well, I think China certainly wants the U.S. and Iran in a full-scale war. I don't think Russia does. But there was a report earlier today, unconfirmed, that 3 Iranian missiles had hit a U.S. base in northeast Syria. And I was concerned that Trump might use that as a pretext to start bombing Iran. I don't know if that's been fully verified. I'd have to check it out. But yeah, certainly there's a risk that China could encourage Iran to follow up on its threat to engage U.S. military forces in the region directly, because really the U.S. is a participant in the war. I mean, Trump has all but declared war. He's called for maybe the assassination. He's threatened directly, repeatedly, the assassination of Ayatollah Khomeini. Obviously, I'd love to see Khomeini dead, but what's the Iranian response going to be to that? And now, of course, he's not even the supreme leader, I guess. It sounds like he's abdicated to the IRGC for the duration of the conflict. So the IRGC is allowed to use nuclear weapons against the U.S. or Israel if they so choose. But it's a very, very dangerous situation. There's forces, allies on both sides that are potentially urging, a resumption of the conflict. Trump's not being a peacemaker. He's not being a deal maker. He's not being willing to negotiate with Iran on the nuke deal. And he doesn't even seem to care. He really is just very focused on the military destruction of Iranian nuclear facilities. And by all appearances, it appears that he's going to follow through on those threats. But we just won't know until later. And the last thing I want to say is this week may be remembered as the start of World War III, or it may be remembered as a week in which the U.S. pulled back from World War III, and World War III was averted. And it's all in Trump's hands and God's hands now.
Wow, that's why we should all be praying. dpine.substack.com, dpyne.substack.com. And then Annie is liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.com, and she has liveuptofreedom.substack.com. She also, by the way, has this beautiful website right here, and it is lutfstudio.com. It's the acronym for Live Up to Freedom. lutfstudio.com. And these are all things made by Annie herself. She's a very gifted artist, and she makes these herself, so you can check them out. Helps her fund what she's doing in the hours she spends doing research as well. lutfstudio.com. Guys, thanks for being with us tonight, as always.
Thank you, Brannon.
Thanks, Brannon.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, David.